So
Very
morning,
tough for
but
you.
only challenge would be for you is that you will have to see how. I think they are
Yogesh ji,
streamed it live. Yeah.
my suggestion would be anytime evening after 8 o'clock. Because
Hmm.
the reason is everyone has their kids, they have to get ready,
Hmm.
they have to make kids, because unlike you guys, we will not have maids or anyone, right? We have to work for us. So dropping people at their schools and lot of stress in the morning. I would suggest to keep in night. And not
Got it.
only
Got
from
it.
my side, everyone will
Hmm.
love to. That's a good
Do it
time
in the
because I
night.
do a lot of events, right? I know when people like it.
Got it. Got it.
The reason I want to put this 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, because people will leisurely get up and, now people will send all the flyers to almost 30, 40 groups. My team will send. We have
Got
close
it.
to 2,000, 3,000 people there. And I have more than 20,000 people in my phone, 5,000 people will be there. And in my Facebook, I have created all Indians in Houston, Indians in Denver, like that. I have a lot of groups I run.
Very nice.
So promotion will
Lovely.
happen unknowingly. If I
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
my Facebook, at least 5,000 people will see.
Yes. 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 Lovely.
Yeah, that's the. I think you send me that in leadership team. I am more than happy because
I'll do that. It is in
I'm in a
January, so
leadership
we'll
role.
be in touch. Yeah, you can experience that.
And how do we do this web series? Also, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk
And,
about it. So there are six very powerful topic for every leader.
Mhm.
So we can do like once in 2 weeks something like that. And we can take one topic every time.
Yeah, sure. I'm more than happy. I also will learn from that, right? So
Yeah, it's a
learning.
very interesting topic.
And only one thing I am seeing this time, we need to put some sponsorship. Someone can sponsor that time. I want to do more an ad kind of a stuff. We will see if you have any good friends who want to promote. We will try. And again, I'm not trying to make money here. I want to try to keep my team engaged. That's all I'm looking. We'll do. That's a good opportunity. We'll do. Whether the sponsors come or not, we will do. That's a commitment
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me.
So should I keep the view in gallery mode or on speaker mode? Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Automatically, we both will be in the picture,
Okay.
and they will change accordingly.
Okay. Okay. Lovely.
So when you share something, Lalesh, ఒకవేళ సార్ షేర్ చేస్తే ఎలా చేస్తారు?
ఫుల్ స్క్రీన్ వచ్చేస్తుంది.
అది ఫుల్ స్క్రీన్ వచ్చేస్తుంది, మేము మాట్లాడుతుంటాం అంతేనా?
కొంచెం సార్ది పైన హెడ్ కట్ అవుతుంది సార్, కొంచెం డౌన్ చేయమంటారు.
योगेश जी, आपका हेड थोड़ा नीचे, you can do little bit.
ల్యాప్టాప్ ని టాప్ చేయమంటారు.
You can come down, not your camera, but yeah,
ఇంకా
little
లిటిల్ బిట్
more.
లిటిల్ బిట్ డౌన్ సార్.
Oh, down. Acha.
నో ఆపోజిట్.
Up, reverse. Yeah, you should come half of the screen maybe. You are occupying the entire screen.
Is this all right?
నో సార్, ఇంకా అది పైన మనకి
You have to move the camera up.
So okay. Then I think I will have to put something below the camera. Okay, just hold on.
నవీన్ సార్, మీరు కొంచెం తగ్గించండి, ఎక్కువ ఉంది బాగా హెడ్ రూమ్. ఆయన తగ్గిస్తే మీరు
In Tagiya.
Friend, is this better?
Is it okay, na, Lalesh?
అంటే నాకు ఈక్వల్ గా ఉన్నది సార్, మీదైనా తగ్గాలి, సార్ డౌన్ కావాలి.
Okay, Yogesh ji, you are seeing me, right? How I am in center, and from my head and top there is a gap.
Yes.
Yeah.
But see, I'm using the laptop now, so.
Yeah. So what you do is you push the laptop little far. Push the little back. Laptop you push back.
Got it.
That's
Got
it.
it.
Our little. You can move laptop back so that your picture is little zoomed. Yeah. Yeah. Then I think otherwise nene em chesta Lalesh, nen move chesta front ki. Now it's okay?
ఇంకొంచెం సార్.
Yeah. Now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is almost time, huh?
Okay, ready, sir?
1 minute. Okay, ready.
Hanging there.
You go with Agiwal or Ajiwal?
Agiwal.
Agiwal. Okay. Ready, yeah? Yogesh, tell me.
Yeah, I'm ready.
45 is not streaming.
మొన్న ఒకసారి ఇచ్చిన
సార్ మీకు లింక్ వాట్సాప్ చేశారు చూసారా?
ఏందో లింకా?
యూట్యూబ్ లింక్ అది షేర్ చేయండి సార్.
ఓకే, ఇప్పుడే చేస్తున్నా. 1 minute.
Ready, sir?
Okay, 1 minute. I'm copying that on my Facebook.
అది క్వశ్చన్ అడిగిన తర్వాత చేసేయండి సార్.
అన్నవాడు మ్యూజిక్ కావాలా?
Okay, that's fine. We'll
Ready,
start.
sir? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
ఒక చిన్న
go.
వీడియో
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to TV5 and Mana TV. So today's episode on Insight with Praveen Puram, we have a wonderful leader, Mr. Yogesh Agiwal. How are you, Yogesh ji?
Good, 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 good. Good
Thank
to
you
have you.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on to the show. So we'll just I'll brief about Yogesh Agiwal. So today's topic is emotional intelligence. During this unprecedented time, everyone are undergoing this virtual everywhere, and what it is really impacting on the emotional. So we will learn more from Yogesh ji. So Yogesh Ajiwal is an 18 years IT business leader. He also, apart from his leadership training, he also is a delivery leader from a renowned company called Wipro. And more than all, he has received an award from Ajiz Premji couple of times on the People Manager. That's a wonderful thing. So Yogesh ji also trains on the leadership. He has numerous number of leadership programs, which is very well engaged, and he has a curriculum as well. So before I tell more about him, I would let Yogesh ji to introduce himself and tell more about himself. Please, over to
Thanks,
you, Yogesh.
thanks, Praveen. So, as you said, I don't, come from a leadership background in the beginning. So, I come from a very long IT industry. Spent around 15 years in Wipro, and I got into leadership in Wipro. And for 7 years, I was heading the leadership in Wipro, and then I moved out and started crossover leadership journeys. And we have been in for last 5 years doing a lot of leadership programs in a long journey format. So it's like a curriculum academic flavor, but emotional intelligence is a flagship program that we have, and we always start our leadership programs with this topic. So I'm so glad that you decided to choose this topic for today's conversation.
Thank you, Yogesh. And it is very interesting story when I really read about you and spoke about this leadership program. Being in a delivery, all of a sudden you have a switch, and you are a mentor, you are a leader, and you are training all the leaders, not the
Yeah.
ordinary public. So how do you
Yeah.
manage this, Yogesh? How did you manage
So
to do this?
yeah. So I mean, when you look at couple of other our modules that we have are so nicely done because If you look at, for example, the research of Rory Vaden or Cal Newport, they are all very systematically telling you how to organize, your day, how to manage your schedule. But I mean, everything that you do, I think, unless you are able to manage your emotions, I think everything else will not fail. So I personally feel that emotional intelligence is, I think, the foundation skill that really helps us to, not get stressed out whenever there is too much of work, or whatever is coming our way. Like, we never imagined about the pandemic, but you can see, if you are good as a emotionally intelligent strong leader, then it doesn't matter. You can even handle the pandemic so well. Yeah, and we have got so many examples of that. How people are, so there are some people who are really getting very stressed out with pandemic. On the other hand, there are people who are really making the best out of the pandemic. So you can see both sides of people around here.
Awesome. So, being a CEO and founder of the crossover leadership, in your journey, I think this is a very different time. If you see the past 1 year and before this past 1 year, what is the change in the leadership trainings you have been undergoing?
So, if I were to look at this particular pandemic, and I always keep observing, different types of leader, and there are some people who are, just waiting for the vaccine to come, and they are like sitting and just waiting and not doing much. They are very upset about the pandemic. And then there are other people who have found out, different ways to use the time. So if you see, today, I think there is a lady who has got the Guinness Book of World Record for doing the maximum number of online courses. And so if you like, I can tell you the background of how this difference in these people are. And so if you look at the way these two types of people. So there are one people who are very upset, and there are one people who are really excited. I mean, who are not excited, but they're making the best out of that. So I remember there was one client of mine, and she works in a bank, and I do some coaching for her. And after the in the during the pandemic, when the banks opened, she went to the bank. Yeah, and she saw that there was hardly anybody in the bank, and even if they had to go for a coffee, they had to go all alone. There was social distancing. Half the people would come, half not come. And I had just started coaching with her, and she said that, why am I feeling like this? It is very sad to see this kind of environment. And then I asked her a question. I said, do you live in a joint family from your childhood? And she said, yes. And then she asked me, how did I know about that? And I said that, a lot of our experiences actually come from our childhood. Yeah. So, for example, this girl whose name is Vanita has always lived in a joint family. So if you look at the way our experiences before 12 years get recorded in our brain, which is called a limbic system, and lot of our behaviors are based on that experience. So Vanita has never experienced people not around, being all alone, and that experience manifested in her life. And I could coach her to how do you manage emotions in those times. Yeah.
Awesome. I think not only Vanita, everyone are experiencing the same, Yogeshi. And coming to the topic, emotional intelligence. The reason I
Yeah.
picked this topic is today's world. This is the most, if you see the depressions, what we are
Yes.
seeing, the depressions rates have increased. I really didn't
Yes.
go into Indian depression rates, but in US, I could see the depression rates are high.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, everyone started working from home, right?
Yes.
Because our focus is on leaders. Let's
Yes.
talk more about leaders. How do a leader need to balance his
Yes.
emotions and leading the team virtually? So, what
Yes.
are the techniques you would tell to the leaders?
So, what I will do, Praveen, is that when you look at emotional intelligence, there are, a lot of research that has happened. And I really like the research of, Richard Boytis. And I just want to show you one screen actually, and that
Yeah,
very
sure.
beautifully can explain how the, brain works. So if you were to look at the screen that you're seeing on the screen, So what happens is you can see this limbic system, which is there part of us. This is the entire diagram of our brain. So there are two parts here. One is the limbic system and other is the rational brain. So I'm going to explain the fundamental, and I do this every time when I do a leadership program, that all our experiences get stored in the limbic system. So essentially, all of us have got four feelings, and it's very interesting to remember also: sad, glad, mad, and scared. Yeah, so we have got this four feeling even when we are born with. So whether the child is in Hyderabad or child is in Atlanta or in Japan or in Korea, any child, if you see the 6 months old child, and if nobody's around, he'll become sad. If you play with him, he'll become glad. If he's hungry, he'll become mad. And if again nobody's around, he'll become scared. So these four feelings are there irrespective of where you are. Now, as we grow, these feelings, starts manifesting it in emotions. Yeah. So what happens is that, assuming that, I will give this example of this girl, called Geeta, which I always use in my stories. That Geeta is assuming that, she is 8-year-old, and she's been invited to come and say the poem in the 25th anniversary of the school, and she's really excited about this poem, and everybody at home has invited the relatives, and they are all excited that Geeta is going to say the poem in front of the audience. Now Geeta is by hearted the whole thing. She goes and stands behind the curtain and is waiting for the curtain to open, and everybody has got the front row because she's going to say the poem. Now, as the curtain opens, she sees this whole large crowd in the auditorium, and she forgets the first, line of the poem. And Praveen, since you have also been brought in India, if you by heart something and you forget the first line, you don't remember any of the poem.
That's
So she
true.
forgets the entire poem, yeah. And the more she tries to remember, the more she is not able to remember. And then she looks at the dad and mom, and everybody's looking at her and saying that, we spent so much money to get you here, and how come you're not saying? Now, the more they look at her, the more she's not able to say the poem. Now, finally, she decides to not say the poem and gets out of the stage. But that day, she makes a decision that from today, I will not go on the stage. Yeah. Now, fast forward her life to, say, she works in Wipro with me. And whenever I tell Geeta that, Geeta, tomorrow, there is a customer delegation coming, or you have to go on Praveen Puram's show, she will immediately say that, no, tomorrow I have a doctor's appointment, or my mother is not well, or my, grandmother passed away, some reason to not take up the assignment. Now, what is happening is, when she is getting the stimulus, the assignment from anybody, like if I tell her, tomorrow there is a customer delegation, she gets the first three feeling out of the four. So either she gets sad that why does Yogesh always put me in the spot, or she becomes mad that I will not be able to really do this and what will happen, and lastly she becomes scared. Now, when that feeling she is getting here, now she can slowly learn this whole science of emotional intelligence, where she can take a pause and start becoming self-aware that, yeah, I am getting this three feeling, and then she starts manifesting the emotion. Now, there are two types of emotions one can manifest. One emotion is, I cannot do this, I will never be able to do this. We call it as left side processing of emotion. Now, if she takes a pause and connects this limbic system to the rational brain, she can start doing right side processing of emotion, which means she can tell me, hey, Yogesh, I generally, get really scared, so if I have to go to Praveen Puram show, can you tell Praveen that we'll do a mock show before the main session?
Exactly.
Yeah, so she's doing right side processing. And the beauty of our brain is that the more you do this right side processing of emotion, the brain starts responding accordingly, which means in future, if there is a scared situation, she will again start doing the right side processing of emotion. Now, many leaders, as you spoke about, right, Praveen, the people, leaders who are able to do this processing of right side are the people who are able to manage COVID really well. The people who are still doing with left side processing are really finding it very difficult to manage. Now, the beauty of this, Praveen, is that we all can, very nicely manage this. Meaning, so I'll just unshare the screen. So the beauty is that it doesn't matter, what is your childhood experience. You can always change that. That's the power of emotional intelligence.
Awesome. I think you rightly said, because most of us do not know this limbic and right processing, left processing. But if you can relate ourselves, even if you are coming before the show, we had 5 to 10 minutes. So that made really comfort zone. Even the
Yes.
same when I'm doing the show, I will be confused. Like, what should I ask questions?
Mhm.
Whether how Yogesh will react, how the audience
Yeah.
will react.
Yeah.
So you rightly said, when you process the right side of the brain, I think it's working well. So
Yes.
as you move on with the experiences, you have to implement this. When I started my show, I was really nervous. Now I can talk to anyone. Just five
Yes.
minutes before the show, if they come, I'll be very comfortable and the questions will be ongoing.
Very nice. Very
Awesome.
nice. Yeah.
So, Yogesh, in your leadership programs, during this COVID, did you design any new courses, especially on this emotional intelligence? And what is that course? How long it takes? If you can really tell our audience, that would be a great help.
Very nice. Thank you, Praveen, for asking this question. I think you are a great host to very systematically let the speaker speak. So, I feel there are a couple of leadership areas that I think every leader should pick up. So, we designed couple of courses, and I want to talk about that. So, the second course that we designed is how do we develop people? Yeah. So, so for example, if Praveen is a leader who micromanages, so he tells the Mana TV staff that do this, do that, do this, yeah. Now, which is good because initially when you're starting the Insight with Praveen Puram, you should tell these guys, But imagine if they're working with you for 3 years, and even in the third year you are again telling them, boss, do this, do that. These guys will feel your boss is Praveen is like sitting on our head every time, yeah. Which means you have to change your leadership style to become more like a delegator. Yeah. Now each leader has its own style. Yeah. Some leaders are micromanager. Yeah. Some leader are delegator. Both are good. Okay. So imagine if you are a delegator and you start your first show or you start another show and you assume that everything is known by these people and you will get a lot of problem in the show. So how does leader switch their dominant leadership style is a very beautiful course. We call it as contextual leadership. And
Mhm.
we bring emotional intelligence in the course, which means you start recognizing your own dominant leadership style. And then based on the people you're dealing with, you start really switching your style. Yeah. So that is one course. Second course is, leaders, with their experience, they always want to give lot of direction to people. So they'll say, do this, do that, do this. Yeah. What is happening is that if you keep doing this, people never develop because they stop thinking. Because they'll always say, hey, when Praveen tells me, na, I will do. Until then, they're sitting. So there is a beautiful concept we introduced called humble inquiry, which means don't give any solution. Keep asking people, hey, if you were in my place, what would you do? If you start doing this, it's a beautiful way, and there is where emotion will also come into play because unless you manage your emotion to not give the response, you will keep doing that. Yeah. Then the fourth module is about how do you manage time. Yeah, and so traditionally, if you see, Praveen, people have this whole idea of to-do list. Yeah, so they will have 10 item and they'll go one by two like this. Yeah, what happens in that approach is that assuming if I report into you and I report into one more boss, I will come to you with item number 1 and 2. I'll go to the other boss with item number 3 and 4. Again, I'll come to you with item number 5 and 6. Every time I come to you, there is something called an attention residue, which means that whatever you are doing, you will have to switch to me and go back to what you're doing, which means there is a lag in your attention. So what we do in that course is we teach them how to manage the show. And finally, there are two more areas called influencing and negotiation. So if you look at this 6 areas of leadership, it makes you really very holistic in all sides of getting new business, developing your people, managing your time, communicating with the customer. So it's a very beautiful course. In fact, we call this course as Emerging Leaders Program. So if you go to our LinkedIn page, you can see a very nice 2 minutes video on this also.
I think you have really nailed down all the leadership skills. If you see the way you explained emerging leaders, and if I were to really focus on the last two items on the how to influence and how to negotiate.
Yes.
As a leader, really, apart from my passion, I am also a leader, right? So now during this COVID, if I were to say an example, I want you to tell me how we can really solve this problem. How can you really influence people when you are remote, right? That is one challenge. And
Yes.
the second challenge is time management. People are, for every single reason, they are talking on Zoom or they are talking, having a meetings. So
Yes.
today we are working more, right? But is the productivity more or less? No one knows. Even the trend
Yes.
says it is productive more. But as a leader, I feel sometimes we are spending a lot of time where you can solve it in 5 minutes. So in
Yes.
this, how do you manage your time? How do you influence your people being remote? That's the
Yes.
great question. Everyone will be benefited.
Very nice. Thank you, Praveen. And so I think what we did is that, I mean, for us, while COVID started this year in March, but we in 2017 itself actually became virtual. And I remember how the changes that we made, and we are now teaching our clients and our participant how to do that. So, there is this whole concept of focus funnel, which means that, it takes you to different. So, if you're a leader, and if you've got 10 tasks, it will ask you to go through one by one task and see whether those tasks needs to be done by you or not. Okay, so there are concepts like eliminate, automate, delegate. So one of the things that we have done is that we have tried to make as many things as self-service, which means that if I want to, so any information that anybody is asking me more than twice, I put it on a shared model, which means that it's so if you can minimize people communicating for that, I think that is one very big thing that we have implemented across the board. So we sat down and saw in our own organization that how's the information flow happening, because when you're in office you can just go and, hey Praveen, I need this information, you quickly do it, right? But when you're virtual, if I call Praveen is with his daughter getting her ready. When you call me, I'm getting my son ready. So half the time goes in figure out when to contact whom, and then you get irritated because somebody is waiting for that information. Then you get upset, and if you are my boss, you scold me, and then I get upset, and this whole stress starts building up. So can we put this, in place about having the information that has to be shared? The second thing we implemented very rapidly is, having one collaboration platform. So you can use Slack or you can use Microsoft Teams, which means that whenever you need information, you don't need to call people. You can just put it on the channel and it is there. So WhatsApp is also one medium, but I think MS Team, or you can use that part. And the third thing we did is that we started, keeping certain times as a time for everybody's availability every day. We can call it as a stand-up meet where the Zoom is open for about 45 minutes and everybody logs in at that time. So whatever during the day you need is cleared in that phase. So like that we have created. So we tell people that we don't need to every time ask. If there is something that can wait till tomorrow, use that in the stand-up meeting. I think these three things has really helped us quite a bit. So we are not as stressed out.
Awesome. I think a lot of things, the practical things you have really nailed down.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
one other question I would like to really relate my question to the emotion intelligence as well. And you have been in the service industry too. For example, now the customer, right? If your job role as a leader is a customer facing role, right? If you would go face to face and solve the problems, that's easy. But if you are writing remotely an email, that might be misread, and depending upon his emotions, feelings, and what time of email he's reading, at what time he's reading, our solution or the decision depends upon that, right? So how do
Yes.
you manage this when it is really business sensitive emails or anything? How do you suggest to control our emotions and feelings?
Very, very interesting question, Praveen. So, Praveen, this, if you look at research, right, we get around 42,000 thoughts every day.
Wow,
Okay.
42,000.
I mean thoughts. Constantly it is coming in our mind. Yeah. Almost 90% of the thought may not actually have any basis.
Okay.
Okay. So for example, if I write to Praveen about our show, for example, okay, and Praveen doesn't respond for 2 days, maybe my thought will be that Praveen is not interested in hosting the session, or I mean, I think he got some other speaker. Yeah. But in reality, Praveen was busy with a big proposal and he had just no time. Yeah. So we call this in our emotional intelligence program as automatic stories.
Mhm.
Okay. Automatic stories are stories which get created in our mind without any basis. Yeah. Now, whenever you're writing an email like this that you talked about, or anything, there could be many automatic stories. So what we need to start practicing is that where does that automatic story generate? Yeah. So if, for example, the moment and I'm relating this back to our earlier concept of right side processing. So for example, if Praveen is not responding and I'm sending him a reminder, if my automatic story says that, yeah, Praveen doesn't care about my time, he talked so much, but after that he is not responding, one of the four feeling is coming, which is mad. I'm very mad at Praveen. If
Mhm.
I do left side processing, I will say, I will just write, hey Praveen, you have not responded to me, so maybe we will do it some other time, or you don't care about your time, this is not the way we work, all that. Yeah. If I do right side processing, then I'll say, hey Praveen, very busy. If not this Saturday, we can do it some other Saturday. What is the big deal? Let me say right to Praveen. Hey Praveen, I have been very eagerly waiting for your response. Hope everything all right at your home. Now, in reality, I don't know what is happening on Praveen's side. Okay, whether Praveen is not responding because he doesn't want me on the show, or is he busy? I don't know. Reality, I don't know. What I have done is, if I don't know the reality, I always give the credit to the other party, which means I am doing right side processing. Now, the challenge with this automatic story is that if you start treating those automatic story as real story, which means that I think that Praveen doesn't want me and I start responding, those are real actions. Now, where it started, it is very difficult to know. So, the more you catch your automatic story and start processing your right side, then you will be so surprised to see that how your brain can actually create many stories which has no relevance to reality. Yeah. And if you practice for some time, then even if you're upset with a customer, you will say that, hey, maybe the customer is going through a tough time, so let me still not get upset with him, so you continue to do right side processing. So what happens is that when Praveen sees my mail, which is so courteous, and assuming that he was going to drop me from the show, he will still say, yeah, he's so courteous, so let me get him on my show. So that's the power of emotional intelligence. So right side processing, not believing your automatic stories.
Right, you are right. Actually, if you compare right side, left side, and also apply what are the four, like sad, mad, and
Glad and
glad, and
scared.
scared.
See, you're learning it right there,
Right
actually.
there, yes, yes. And sometimes, Yogesh, if you see, if especially I will talk really practical related questions so that the audience can catch, and also they might be interested to learn more.
Yes.
And also, if you are really processing through your right side of the mind and wait for some time, sometimes we might lose business, right? For
Yes.
example, if the customer wants something from a service oriented, like for example Wipro or any other company, we respond them within 24 hours because we are hunger for business. At the
Hmm.
same time, the other party will not respond, but when he needs, he will respond. So how do you deal with that situation? Do you think the anger management comes into picture?
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. In fact, so there is one more, part of the brain called as amygdala. Okay,
Amygdala.
so amygdala. So in fact, I can once again show you the picture where it is stored. So you will see the picture. It is here, right? So it is somewhere stored here.
Mhm.
And these are some slides which are very beautiful that I spoke about. So amygdala is, a part of the brain that is, stored somewhere here. And what happens, this is the part of the brain. So what happens is that it gets activated whenever there is a threat response. Yeah. So which means that, so assuming that, this ceiling is going to fall, assuming just a hypothetical example, the amygdala will get activated and it will take the blood from my brain and supply to my arms or to my feet. So either I can hold the ceiling or I can run from this room. I can do two things. That time the brain doesn't need to be rational. Okay, so it will it because it is flight or fight, which means it has to either run from this room or fight this ceiling. And at that time, I will not say that, did we get the municipal permission? Who is the builder? Get me the plan. All that is later. Right now, run. Okay. And that is the time the blood in the brain is absolutely been taken away by the entire body. Now, the problem with our brain is even this can happen when there is a difference of opinion or when something that you are thinking. Yeah. So, for example, if Praveen is not agreeing to a point of view, okay, my amygdala can get activated because your disagreement is a threat to my amygdala.
Wow.
So you would have seen, right? Many a times when people are, in disagreement, they start, say using very loud voice and they start using very sarcastic language. And after 2 years, 2 months, 2 hours, they will tell that, hey, maybe I should not have shouted so high, because then what happens after 2 years, 2 hours is that your blood starts going back to your brain and you become rational.
Wow.
Now, the beauty, Praveen, is that you could actually train your amygdala and not let it get activated when there is no real threat.
Okay.
So, a conversation with you is not a real threat; it is just a conversation. So,
Yeah.
if I can train, then gradually that amygdala gets trained, and then you're not able to get angry. And this can be so powerful for every, like, so I always see when I go to the airport, if say you go to the airport and you want to go to San Francisco and the staff tells you that, hey, Praveen, your flight is cancelled for today. Suddenly the amygdala can get activated and you will maybe start shouting at the staff because you have an important show the other side and you start banging the counter. You would have seen it in the airport, right? Now,
Yes.
if you can manage your amygdala and tell the staff in that awareness that, hey, I have a very, very important show, is there any other option that you have? Can I go to San Diego and take a car and go to San Francisco? Yeah, can you check with any other airline if you can transfer the ticket there? Is there any other option? So you are actually training the amygdala, letting it know that, oh, it is not a real threat. It is just the ticket that has got, whatever confusion and you can get there. Yeah.
So, are there any training techniques or any
Yes, yes, yes. In
and
fact, we do a very nice, 1 day workshop,
Mhm.
and in that we really train them how to train your amygdala. It's
Awesome.
very powerful. In fact, you
Definitely,
should.
we'll go more in depth and one by one. I think it is getting more interesting now. You have, while talking to you, I have a lot of questions, but anyway, in the limited time, whatever we can cover, we will, and we will also have a follow up, Yogesh. So, coming
Sure.
from business to personal, right? When during
Yes.
this pandemic, because especially most of the people I speak to, they say, hey, we are in the house, everyone is there, everyone listens what we are speaking, what we are doing, because end of the day we are in the same house, right?
Yes.
People are getting frustrated, depressed, and they are not able to go out, meet people, not being social. And the
Yes.
family, especially kids is another added stress to everyone because they are also virtual.
Yes.
So what is your suggestion after listening to so many leaders or any of the your students? What is your suggestion from the emotional intelligence technique point of view? How do you suggest?
Yes. So, I always believe in, time structuring with the family. So, for example, if you look at my own family, so I've got two sons, and my wife also is a director in our company. So, we four of us and my mom, everybody lives together. So, we have actually done a very nice time structuring, which means that we tell each other that, from say 12:45 to 1:45 is our lunch time. Yeah. So, if say Praveen calls me, I would request Praveen, "Hey, Praveen, can we connect at 2 o'clock or can we connect it before 12:45?" Which means that all of us have fixed up a time that we will meet. In the evening from 6 to 6:30, we always meet for tea. So we go up on our terrace. We live in an independent house and we go upstairs and have tea together. And then we have dinner together at 9 to 9:30. So what is happening is these three occasions when we meet together, although we are not able to meet people outside, but getting this together is just awesome. So we are able to spend time together. We not having different times and since we don't have any maid now, we all have to do our own household work here this time. So even this helps us to finish off everything at the same time. We help our family. So it's if you can have an empathy, which is also one very big part of emotional intelligence, meaning experiencing what the other person is going through by recognizing in some form their tone of voice, what they are speaking, their facial expression, and see what they are going, and then you can pass the energy. So I always say that, see, assuming that, Praveen, if I tell that this is a lemon and it is so juicy, it is so beautiful, you put it on the onion, and if I describe for some time, you'll start salivating. Yeah, which
Yes.
means you have not physically seen anything, but just the thoughts is giving your mind. So what is happening is, when we meet together, and since I do EI for quite a bit, I start giving them some very nice stories or just chat with them. And even if there is no positivity in reality, but it is creating positivity in them. And I always tell people that even if you don't feel like smiling, you should smile. And the reason is, there is a beautiful experiment done in the French university. So what they did is, they asked one set of students to take a pen like this and then put it in the mouth and read a comic. Okay, and then they put some apparatus on the brain and saw that what kind of chemicals are getting secreted.
Uh-huh.
Then they took another student and they said, you take the same comic and put the pen inside, as much as inside the mouth, and then read the comic.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine, Praveen, that they did this for about 20 set of students,
Mm-hmm.
and the right side student, when they put the pen more inside, the chemicals which are happiness chemicals were secreted more, which means our physiology of our face is such that when you smile, the happy chemicals get secreted. Which
Wow.
means even if Praveen doesn't feel like happy, he should smile, because when he smiles, the chemicals get secreted and he feels happy. So it is
Awesome.
in our
I think
hand.
we need to try. I see you laughing more, Yogesh. Maybe you are already inculcated with all these things and you smile. I see
It,
you very smiling.
it's science, Praveen. It is not. I mean, when I got into this leadership 12 years ago, I was so fascinated to see how people have done such wonderful experiments, and it is all available to us. The problem is that we have not been able to bring this in our college curriculum or in our education, or even in our corporate. Corporate. If you smile too much, people start questioning you that this guy is not concerned about business. Why is he smiling so much? So that's the challenge. Yeah.
I think one other question also I had, digitalization, right? More digitalization during this virtual, too much digitalization.
Yes.
So adopting the content, digesting the content is huge, right?
Yes.
So if you want to really learn and spend on digital, social media, and whatever you call in the digital world, you are losing some family time. Even while you are
Yes.
eating, you are digital, right? You are connected, you
Yes.
are texting, you're. So what do you think? How the emotions start, wandering when you do this kind of too much digital?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, this is my advice to all leaders, that I think you should have a certain time that you really switch off your device. And also for consumption of content, I always tell about structuring your content. So, for example, for me, I don't read much during weekdays. So I always read my 3 hours of time every Saturday from 9:30 to 12:30. So that is the time where all my HBR articles or everything that is getting collated is read on one shot. So I don't do that. And secondly, as a family, I think we have made this commitment to each other that when we are on the dinner table, or when we are meeting for our tea break, we all kind of switch off our we don't take the mobile along with us. So this is a kind of discipline, and I think we should adhere to that discipline. And like say 9:30 to so I mean, it's just a matter of discipline. It's nothing more. And I know it's very addictive, when the WhatsApp notification keeps popping up. I think so. Other thing I do, Praveen, I like is that on my laptop, I have not kept any notification on,
That's
because the
important.
moment you keep all the notification on your laptop, it becomes a big distractor. So all notification are there on my mobile. My desktop is notification free, And there is a very nice app that I would recommend called Stay Focused. Okay, it actually you can time your social media, saying that I'll watch Facebook or I'll use Facebook for 45 minutes a day, and
Mm.
once the 45 minutes is over, it doesn't let you go to Facebook.
That's good.
So you can, I mean, if you want to like that, you can do that also.
Is it a free app?
Free app.
Okay,
You can
awesome.
try that.
Stay
Stay
focused.
focused. Yeah.
Nice.
So
That's
there
nice.
are many ways, and it's just matter of you supporting each other, like creating an environment where I think so. Assuming that once in a while I have to pick up the phone, then I tell my family that today Praveen may call me, so I have to keep the mobile with me, which is okay. It's not that you don't have to do business, but it should not become part that you are with them physically, but you're not there with them mentally. So that should not
Exactly.
happen.
That's happening with number of people. Hopefully,
Yeah,
we have to switch off and learn some disciplines, Yogesh. In the
yeah,
interest of time, we are almost 30 minutes, and I wanted to let you speak the closing notes for all the viewers
yes,
to see what the at least an essence of this emotional intelligence, how they can
yes,
really make small things make big difference. I would like you
yes.
to tell those.
Very nice. So, Praveen, I think as we said in our course, that there are four feelings which are sad, glad, mad, scared, which are there with us since the time we were born. And as we grow, the emotion starts manifesting.
Hmm.
Now, the emotions that manifest is in our hand and not by default. So, if we just let it by default, then we do left side processing. If we can manage the emotion, then we do right side processing. The way we process our emotions will determine our behavior. The way behave will determine our results. So, first thing is managing the four feelings and generating the emotion. Second is not believing our automatic story. So if
Exactly.
you get any story about anybody, don't believe. And if I have a problem with Praveen, I should go call him and ask, hey Praveen, you told that we'll do this, I have been do this. Any idea? Immediately you'll get the response, meaning whatever the reality. So ask the person, don't ask anybody else. Yeah. And third is don't let your amygdala get activated, So let
Unnecessary.
your amygdala be quiet. And last, Praveen, I always advise leaders is that you have to start exercising and you have to start reading one book every three months, which means one book a quarter. But I always tell leaders that see, all readers may not be leaders, but all leaders are always readers.
Wow.
All readers may not be leaders, but all leaders are always readers. And you can go and check autobiography of almost any leader, and you will find that they are readers. Yeah, so which I said. And nowadays, I can tell you, Praveen, when I was born and brought up in Bombay, and from my childhood, I was a voracious reader. And I still remember there used to be a store called India Book House,
Hmm.
and I could only go and see the book. I could never buy because all the imported books were 300% duty at that time, which means that if a book is costing in America, and mostly you had American book coming to India, first is dollar conversion, then 300% duty, impossible to buy. Now,
Impossible.
today, if you go to this website called pdfdrive.com,
Hmm.
you can find 1 million PDF free books available. It is so amazing. So each leader should exercise at least three times in a week. And the reason I tell you to exercise is that when you exercise, Praveen, the body secretes endorphins.
Hmm.
Okay. When you are in stress, the body secretes cortisol.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, if you exercise, then the endorphins will negate cortisol. If
Okay.
you don't exercise, the cortisol is going to work on your body. So you would see that suddenly people get backache or neck ache or whatever. It's not sudden. It's all collection of cortisol in your body. So hence, even if you don't like exercise, and I know some people don't like exercise, but still you have to do because leaders are going to always get complicated problems to solve. Nobody's going to give you great praise about your work. Okay, only when there is an escalation, the issue will come to Praveen. If everything is going well, somebody else will get the credit. Yeah. So, which means when you're handling a complicated problem, the body is going to autonomously create cortisol. So you have to exercise at least thrice a week. So the cortisol that you generate on Monday, you can negate on Tuesday. The
Hmm.
cortisol you generate on Wednesday, you can negate on Thursday. And then cortisol you secrete on Friday, you can negate on Saturday and Sunday. And you can do any form of exercise. You can do cycling, you can do yoga. And nowadays, one more thing, Praveen, very interesting, that, I do yoga for many, many years. And because of the pandemic in between, I was really worried that what will happen to our studio and all that. And now, can you imagine, we have got a yoga instructor doing it from home, and she has reduced the fees by 50%, because she says that I am no longer using the studio, so I'm not paying any rent, so I'm passing on the discount to all of you, which is so amazing. So Praveen, now with pandemic, actually we have done so many. Like, I would never have got connected to you if we had not been in pandemic. Yeah. So
Exactly,
it was a
exactly.
fantastic. So yeah. So people
I'm
have many options. Yeah.
I'm sure that again you are left brain processing, right brain processing. During this pandemic, I also suggest everyone not to get panic, but develop some interests which you can exercise, which you can do networking, which you can also entertain. So
Yeah.
if you
Very good.
can really find these ways during this pandemic, if you see about myself, I find I'm a social guy. Today I'm not able to go out, but I'm doing these interviews where you can give away to the community, also
Yeah.
connect, network. And
Yeah.
I've also started nutrition program, a weight loss program, and I'm becoming healthy. That means health transformation also you have some time.
Very
Apart
nice.
from that, as you said, we need to read now professional transformation. So this is
Yes.
a wonderful time. You can avail n number of things at your own sitting
Yes.
at your home.
Yes. Yes. Very nice. Super. Brilliant.
I, I think wonderful. I think you told a lot of good things, and I'm sure that we can continue 2 3 hours, and I can ask you a lot of questions which are
No, what
useful
we
and
can do,
which may.
Praveen, yeah, we can do a leadership series if
Sure.
people love. We can talk about one module every time. It's fantastic, actually.
We'll do that, and I promise that we will definitely. I'm committed. It is learning while spending time with you, and
Yeah.
thank you again, Yogesh, for your time. And this is your private family time, but again, spending us and educating people and giving away to the community. It's a very good sign. And thank you so much for your time. And viewers, this is all about today emotional intelligence, and we will learn more from Yogesh in the coming web series, as he has already promised to tell more about the leadership. We will continue doing that. And thank you, Yogesh, and
Thank
have
you.
a wonderful night. And we will be connected.
Thank you, Praveen. Thank you for having me. Bye.